Namaste to all. Welcome. In yesterday's, what is that? Verse number 3, there is a typo. So that's why I was little, off when we chanted, and then later I understood that there is a typo in the last word. It should be bahvrichaha, and so since we are going to chant it together, I'm going to write this here, and we can do that. It's fine in the transliteration, and in the Sanskrit, in the Devanagari, there is a problem. There's a typo. Okay, we'll begin now. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamohagrahagrasaika Karmane Īśvarenapi Jivena Srishtam Dvaitam Vivichyate Viveke Sati Jivena Heyo Bandhasphuti Bhavet Māyāntu prakritim vidyāt māyinantu maheshwaram samāyī srijati tyahuhu shvetashvatarashākhinah ātmā vā idamagre bhūt saīkshatasrija iti saṅkalpēnā srijal lokān saetaniti bahvrichaha. So, we are under discussion is what is called Īśvara Srishti, because this whole, chapter is the difference between Īśvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti. And guess what has to be given up in order to gain moksha? So, it is not Īśvara Srishti, it is Jiva Srishti, it's going to be told. But in order to understand this, we have to see the difference, and that is what we are trying to do. And in verse number 2, this was delineated. Verse number 3, verse number 1, this fact was delineated that there are two Srishtis and there is only room for one Srishti, so the other one, namely Jiva Srishti, has to be given up, and you cannot give up Jiva Srishti until you know what it is like. And then so we are going to delineate this, it was told. And then we begin in verse number 2 with the Īśvara Srishti. And Īśvara Srishti is not possible without Maya. That saṅkalpā Shakti itself is, all knowledge, and that Īśvara sees the universe through the eye of Maya. It is just very beautiful. The whole thing is very beautiful. And so this Maya for Īśvara on the level of the Samashti is all knowledge. She endows the same Satchidananda Atma with a Samashti Upadhi, a kind of a container or a role called Īśvaratva, and with all the insignia of the ruler of the universe. And she endows the same Jiva with a dunce cap, i.e. Ajnanam. So this much we have seen. And then, this is a quote from the Rig Veda, and the Tikakaras, etc. have delineated that quote in the verse number 3, Atma va idamagre abhut. It summarizes the quote from Taittirīya Upaniṣad, and the Rig Veda is called Bahvrichaha, people who subscribe to the Rig Veda are called Bahvrijaha, because the Rig Veda is full of mantras. Bahvi Rija, Yasmin. So from where there are many mantras, and also this Rig Veda is very well known. So like this, he is going from one Veda to another, because only through the Upanishads, do we understand Īśvara, because Īśvara cannot be established logically. We have seen that in great detail. So now this is a very interesting verse, because this talks about the effortlessness of the creation, that the creation does not need any kind of Īśvara drinking protein powder. Brahma and Saraswati creating the universe along with protein powder, because they are very tired. And Jagan Mata, the mother of the universe, after the maternity, the longest maternity, to give birth to this universe, after that she needs leave. No such things. Anayasena srijati, creates without any effort. It's an effortless creation, much like, and we rely heavily on this, on the dream experience, or as an example to illustrate this effortlessness. Because you don't have to put any effort in the dream. The dream just happens, and it's so logical, and it unfolds itself, and then it's so real. And then what? And then when the alarm rings, or when some disturbance happens to the sleep, then it's all withdrawn. Where? Back to that same consciousness, and this is talked about beautifully in the Advaita Makaranda by Lakshmidhara Kavi. He has written a beautiful, text of 28 verses. So what does Lakshmidhara Kavi say? Mayye vodeti chidvyomni jagad gandharva pattanam. Mayi eva udeti. In me alone. What is this me? In that vast oceanic awareness, consciousness, Satchidananda Atma alone, Udeti, rises, in what? Chidvyomni, in the space of that consciousness alone, Chit means consciousness, in that all knowledge, limitless consciousness, which is the true meaning of the word I, rises what? Jagat, the whole Jagat rises. Like how? Gandharva Pattanam. Gandharva Pattanam Vat. Like even, suddenly you look at the sky and you see the clouds are forming right in front of your eyes. And then you have a Gandharva Nagari, a city of clouds. Gandharva means some celestials, Yakshas, Kinnaras, Gandharvas, like that. So we have a whole city of celestials effortlessly assembling with just the movement of the wind and the atmosphere, and then suddenly you see that this cloud looks like a mountain. Next to that, another cloud, longish one, looks like a tree. Then the other one looks like a rabbit. Then it looks like a human being. Then those look like three girls going, together somewhere, young children skipping along. Then there is a cloud, the fat cloud that looks like Ganesha. And then, then in front, of course, Ganesha is incomplete without laddus in front of him. And then another cloud, looks like a plate of modaks or laddus in front of the Lord. So this is where is this happening? When you're sitting in the plane, looking out of the window. So the whole Jagat is like that. It is Gandharva Pattanam. Gandharva Pattanam, it's like even, as effortless as just the clouds assembling, just like that. And of course there are some reasons, and we are not looking, the Drishtanta is only up to that much. We are not looking into the reasons why this one looks like a rabbit, all that, that's not the example here. The example is in the effortlessness of the Srishti, with the proof of the Taittirīya Upaniṣad, and this is a very common thing. Even in the Chandogya we will find tad aikshata, it, meaning really there is no gender for Bhagavan. It visualized, it saw. What did it see? It saw the whole Jagat even before it came into being, effortlessly. And and in this effortless projection of the Jagat is the purport of this mantra. So the whole Jagat is just beautifully there, just like even the whole, this Sarvagyam Sarvakaranam Brahma, this Jagat Karanam Brahma, which is what? Satchidananda Atma. That's why, we are not talking of Brahman here, we are talking of Atma. Atma vai, idam agre abhut. Atma was here right in the beginning, before all. Beginning means what? Beginning within quotes. Beginning of this cycle of creation. Yeah, there was no beginning because creation is anadi, Jiva is anadi, Īśvara is anadi, Jiva is Īśvara. Jiva is Īśvara without knowing that. That is how, identified with the body and the alienation from the source. That same Atma is called Jiva. Identified with the ruler of the universe, that role, that same Atma is called Īśvara. So all these are very beautiful, beautifully presented, and each one must be read like a Mahavakya because we are dealing with Īśvara and Jiva together. So, and the quotes are very beautifully, picked. Each one is like a gem. And from verses 2 to 7, he creates a lovely garland of stanzas, mantras from the Upanishad to unfold what he calls Īśvara Srishti. And so here in this one, Atma va idam agre abhut. Atma alone was there. And then what did this Atma do? Sa ikshata. Here it is masculine because Atma, the word, is masculine. So Atma saw and Srije, and it thought, here I go, creating something. And this creation is what? Saṅkalpā matrena. So by the intention to create alone was the creation. There is no separation or time lapse like, oh, first let me think of what to make. Like, a lady of the house planning the menu. So first she will plan the menu and then what, she will then execute it. She will look in the fridge and see what ingredients are there and in her kitchen cupboard, and then go about executing the menu. This is what happens in the household, this is what happens in hotel chains, etc. And so one decides based on the ingredients. But here the ingredients we saw, Maya, is non-separate from Īśvara. So so when the Bible says the Lord created this world out of nothing, we have to add nothing else. Nothing else is there outside of the Lord. Nothing other than oneself. And so in this understanding, in this spirit, we have to see the word saṅkalpā. So here, two things we have to see. One is, unlike the cooking that is going on at home, there is no time lapse between the planning of the menu and then before the food comes onto the table. 3 hours, 2 hours is not there. Why? Simple reason, time is not absolute. Time is also part of the creation. Place, space is also part of the creation. So time and space are relative and they are yet to come. So you cannot say that the saṅkalpā unfolds in time, otherwise time will become Īśvara. In fact, time is Īśvara because everything that comes out of Īśvara is Īśvara. But here, Īśvara is not constrained by time. So as the mountain is visualized, for example, the mountain appears. River is visualized, river appears exactly like in your dream. That's why we rely heavily on the dream drishtanta. So, and then that is one thing to know about the saṅkalpā, is that it is not, it is not happening in time and in space. In fact, the time-space matrix is part of the saṅkalpā. And this is what was Einstein's contribution. Yeah, time bends. How can time bend? We thought it was really linear. No, it bends. It is called a time warp, a space warp. And if you can figure out the time warp and the space warp, Einstein said, you are not subject to time and space if you can figure that out. And this is the material of Harry Potter novels, where, the invisible cloak and all these things are there, because you are not seen by this whole time space thing. So there is all these, all these wonderful things happening in the world of physics. But we knew this a long time ago, and this is nothing to do with science. This is just, the presentation of the Upanishad to understand the cosmology of this universe. And mind you, the Taittirīya, the commitment for us is not in trying to bring out the cosmology of the universe, which element came first, which element came second. That is not our purport. The purport is to show that this, this universe is non-separate from Īśvara, and that Īśvara which the Shruti unfolds is you. That is where the purport is. And so that's why this Īśvara Srishti is only being discussed in relation to, to unfolding the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. That you are that Satchidananda. That is where the commitment is. Otherwise we'll be here all the time wondering, what came first. Oh, then if time is also a creation, did it come before the 5 elements? Did it come along with the 5 elements? For us, that has no purpose at all. You can sit here till you're blue in the face and keep discussing all these things. Kya fayda? What will happen? Nothing will happen. So better to come back here and look at, and just mention that time and space are not absolute. Because from the standpoint of the Jiva, they are absolute. At least that's what we think. Because the body is subject to time, the mind is subject to time, so the ignorant Jiva comes under the spell of time and space because, because of Ajnanam, the Jiva takes the time and space to be absolute. When we look at the word saṅkalpā, we have to see that time and space are also part of this, this unfoldment. First thing. Second thing, we have to understand with the word saṅkalpā is that this saṅkalpā is effortless. We have mentioned this before. It's not going to, be full of some kind of stress. Oh my God, such a complex universe. How to make this one marry this one so that their karmas exhaust, and because each one has to tolerate the other. How to do that? All this for Bhagavan, it is child's play. It's saṅkalpā. And the third thing we have to know by the word saṅkalpā here is it is satya saṅkalpā. The Jiva also has saṅkalpas, correct? Yeah. So many saṅkalpas, so little time. Jiva also has saṅkalpas. Like what are the saṅkalpas? I think I'll go for some ice cream. The weather is heating up. Or I think, I want one more degree. If not degree, I want some, a better job. If not a better job, I want better, pay. If not a better pay, I want less commute. And I think I need to, I just have been leading a very dull life. I think I need to plan a vacation. So these are the Jiva's saṅkalpā. And if you look at all these examples, you see that there is one thing in there. What is that? They are based on the basic sense of universal insecurity centered on the self. I want to shore myself up with numerous, accoutrements, accomplishments, some kind of, fulfillment, because I stand unfulfilled. I stand here all alone in this world of so many names and forms that are out to get me. I need to protect myself. I need to become secure, become within heavy quotes. I need to be more this or more that. This is what the whole thing is. And if I need more and more and more of this and more and more and more of that, that means what? That means the raga dveshas, have been given a free rein. And the raga dveshas are basically two ways of describing kama, desire. Desire splits into what I want, what I don't want, raga and dvesha. And what is the cause of desire? Ajnanam. I don't know myself as Īśvara. Saṅkalpā matrena everything comes. I don't know that. And if I don't know the truth of myself, then the mistake based on the self is a very costly mistake. And what is that costly mistake? The costly mistake is I don't have, and therefore I have to go off and try to get. And here there is no anayasa, there is no effortlessness. Here everything is so much effort. It's an uphill battle, rolling the stone on the mountain. Every desire fulfillment project is like that. You roll the stone on the mountain, and then you take all night to roll it up, like that Greek character Prometheus, and then in 5 minutes it rolls down. And again the whole thing. The fulfillment of each desire is an uphill battle for the Jiva, but for Īśvara it's just a child's play. Why? Because there is a pointed difference between the Jiva's saṅkalpā and Īśvara's saṅkalpā. So the Jivik saṅkalpā, if I can use the word, is what? Is only icky. Yeah. Why? Icky and sticky. Because it's filled with so much agenda, and the desires create pressure, which the Jiva succumbs to that pressure. And there is stress, there is fear and there is lack. And in this kind of an atmosphere, to fulfill anything, it's a self, it's an act of self-sabotage. Because the more one wants something, the greater the emotional quotient, of wanting that and the investment. And greater is the stress. And when there is stress, then there is a lot of, fear. The fear of, oh my God, OMG, what happens if I don't get it? And the fear of not getting it leads the person to be more desperate, to flounder, and then what? And then flop. This is, the whole karma flops. Yeah, and that's why the Bhagavad Gita says, yash shaknoti ihaiva sodhum prak sharira vimokshanat. Before the body drops, the one who is able to let go, of what? Kama krodhodbhavam vegam. Vega here means what? The push, the pressure created by the desires. The desires are not a problem. Saṅkalpā is never a problem. But the saṅkalpā, because of this ajnanam, is backed by a certain pushing pressure called vega here. So, kama krodhodbhavam vegam, the one who is able to let go of that. So, buddhiman sa sukhi naraha, that is the wise one, that is the stress-free one, the happy one, Bhagavad Gita says. So here the third thing we need to know about Īśvara's saṅkalpā is that it is free of pressure, because Īśvara is Purna, fulfilled. Bhagavan is Purna. And so the Purnatvam, and desire in a way almost don't go together. Because if I am, think about it, if I am complete and fulfilled, then what is there to want? In fact, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says so. Atmanan chet Vijaniyat. The one who knows the Atma, if one knows the Atma, Atmanam ched vijaniyat. Aham asmi iti Purushaha. I know this, that this, I am this Purusha if I know. Saha, kasya kamaya, for what purpose, for what, to fulfill what desire? Shariram anusanjvaret. Very beautiful word, jvaret, samjvaret. Jvara means this feverish activity, fever. Jvara means sickness, fever, roga. So, kimartham kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret atmanan ched vijaniyat. So, if one knows the self as Īśvara, as the Purusha that is filling up everything, that is Purna, that is, complete in itself, then kimartham, for what purpose? Kasya kamaya, for whose desire? To fulfill what desire? Because all desires come from incompleteness, and if I know I am complete, then why will I make the body go into body-mind complex, go into a field of frenetic activity? Asks the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Beautiful question, But then here we have Īśvara's saṅkalpā, and that Īśvara's saṅkalpā created this whole universe. And the question is, why this saṅkalpā? And then we have to say, it is not a saṅkalpā coming out of the pressure, the same pressure that the Jiva has. Yeah, that's why. That is the whole idea. That the same thing we see in the lives of saints. Like Pujya Swamiji, when you saw his life, you can see that even though he was a jnani, he set about doing so many things. So many things. All India movement for seva, helping this one, helping that one, funding so many temples, etc. All that was done how? All that was done, effortlessly, because there was no pressure to do things. And so then the doing was A, effortless, B, devoid of the pressure of personal agenda or the ragadveshas, and C, it was for the sake of, humanity. It was for the well-being of people. So that is what it is called Satya Saṅkalpā. Satya Saṅkalpā means it's kind of like Īśvara's saṅkalpā here, a jnani's saṅkalpā, saint's saṅkalpā, Īśvara's saṅkalpā, they are all called Satya Saṅkalpā, because the jnani has nothing to want. Īśvara also wants nothing. But then what? As though creates this jagat, so to speak, devoid of any personal agenda to be fulfilled. So the saṅkalpā here means it is that which is devoid of pressure. And Īśvara, so to speak, just pretends to be active in the jagat, in the form of Vishnu sustaining everything, in the form of Rudra taking back everything. Why? To teach us to not be lazy. This is what Bhagavad Gita, just says in the 3rd chapter. Bhagavan says in the 3rd chapter that, yadi aham na varteyam jatu karmani atandritaha, and then what, utsideyu ime lokaha na kuryat karma chedaham. And if I don't do all this work, the people will become all tamasic. So I have to set an example for this universe, and I have to pretend to be doing something or the other. And then you go to Vishnu temple, oh Mahavishnu, the sustainer of the whole Jagat. Oh Rudra, please be kind to me and give me sweet karma phalas. Don't shower me with arrows and slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. This is what the whole thing is. And so, mama vartma anuvartante manushyaha partha. Oh, hey Arjuna, all the people will follow me. They will follow the example set by me. So then that's why I just create, so to speak, I pretend to create this Jagat and pretend to be in this activity, so that people don't just sit and, in one place and become depressed. They're already depressed because of ajnanam, and at least if they are, doing something even for chitta shuddhi, you have to do something. Chitta shuddhi means to gain the, to gain the qualifications for this knowledge. So the heart has to be clear of raga dveshas. So, Sangam tyaktva chitta shuddhaye atma shuddhaye yoginaha karma kurvanti. Sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. Again the Bhagavad Gita here says, so even to become a karma yogi and to do the same things you've been doing, but with, with a so-called Īśvaras like saṅkalpā. You're doing this for your own growth, not to fulfill raga dveshas. Here we kind of practice being like Īśvara here, in the matter of the saṅkalpā with which everything is done. That's why we dedicate everything to Bhagavan. The karma yogi dedicates everything to Bhagavan, and whatever comes is taken as prasada. This is called buddhi yoga. Another word for karma yoga is buddhi yoga, where the buddhi is used to see the connection between karma and karma phala, and how that puts you into frenetic and stressful activity. And here we are presented with a vision of Īśvara being what? An effortless as though doer. And so how do I also become an effortless as though doer? I go on the path of chitta shuddhi, chitta naishchalyam. So I stabilize the heart, I stabilize the emotions by what? Putting myself on a diet of activity that is in keeping with how Īśvara acts, effortlessly, without stress. How? I bring in Īśvara as the doer. May your saṅkalpā prevail, may not my saṅkalpā prevail. I pray like that. And then, and then what? Whatever I do, yadyad, yadyad, whatever you do, whatever you do, tat kurushva madarpanam. So whatever you do, give it to me. You are the doer, I am just an excuse here, I am a nimitta. So this way the Jiva is also told in the Bhagavad Gita to practice this, freeing the saṅkalpā from the pressure, the vega of the raga dveshas. Very beautiful here. But Īśvara, naturally being free, Īśvara's saṅkalpā is free of the agenda to pull the strings of the universe for his own entertainment. No such thing, her own entertainment. No, not there at all. And if, in fact, we have, the Vedantins are, very skeptical of this Leela Vada. What is this Leela Vada? Sometimes, they say that Bhagavan created this whole universe for his own, her own Leela. Bhagavan created this universe for their Leela. Leela means Krida, sport. This seems very sadistic. Here I am crying because I have no money. Here someone is crying because, they have no health. Somebody else is crying because their house burned down. Somebody else is crying because their country is in the state of a dictatorship and people are being killed. And there someone else is crying because they are having some, other difficulty. And then what is Bhagavan doing? Unaffected, asanga from the whole universe, is sporting, having leela, cha-cha-cha, or dance, So, the Vedantins don't say this world is for leela. Read the Mandukya Upaniṣad. Mandukya Upaniṣad is beautiful. It's, Gaudapadacharya does khandanam, of this leela vada. Khandanam is critique. There is a beautiful critique of this Leela Vada, because it seems so cruel. Why will Bhagavan just suddenly, create this universe because I need a place to and some time to play. And so the Jiva becomes the reality TV channel. Each Jiva is a reality channel for Bhagavan. Ridiculous. So the Leela and all we have to just take symbolically, sporting in every name and form. We have to take as though. So it's not literal, okay? It is a bhava of the bhakta. It's from the standpoint of bhakti. We can take that. So that's why this saṅkalpā, you have to see it as, we have to see it differently than the human saṅkalpā. So I have, talked to you in detail. So 3 ways it is different from human saṅkalpā. What are they? Let us revise. What is the first way? What is the first thing we have to know about Īśvara saṅkalpā? Not a rhetorical question. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No time, no pressure, and then no time, no pressure. It's not happening in time and space. There is no pressure, and Satya Saṅkalpā, no effort. Yeah, no pressure, no effort. Effortlessly coming, just like your dream, devoid of the raga dveshas. That is Satya Saṅkalpā, and free of time and space. It's not happening in time and space. Yeah. So that is why it is not a leela. Okay. So this much if we have understood, we can go further. So saṅkalpena asrijat lokan. Saha, etan lokan asrijat. So all these lokas were created within heavy quotes now that we have understood this creation. So then saṅkalpena asrijat. So just by the very will, by this Satya Saṅkalpā, devoid of any personal gain, benefit, leela, etc., then this creation came forth just by, and it is upheld even now just by the Saṅkalpā. Saṅkalpena asrijat lokan. So what was created here is called lokan. So more than 2. So then we can say either bhuhu, bhuvaha, suvaha, or we can take 7 up, 7 down. So bhuhu, bhuvaha, suvaha, mahaha, janaha, tapaha, satyam. These are called 7 up. And what are they? The 7 kinds of lokas, as good as or better than the earth. Then atala, vitala, sutala, dharatala, rasatala, mahatala, patala, 7 down. So adho lokas, lokas that are not very comfortable. So these are what are called kshetras. And Bhagavan here becomes kshetrajna. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. So then this whole world becomes kshetra, field of experience, various fields of experiences. So you go to Gandharva Loka and you become a musician, music aficionado. Effortlessly you can sing if you are born in Gandharva Loka. You will be singing and dancing all the time. And then you go to Pitra Loka and you enjoy a nice cushion to sit and lots of, peeled grapes that people bring because it's a Punya Loka. These are all because of various gradations of Punya, one goes there. And then same thing, various gradations of Papa, one goes to all these, adho lokas, one goes because of various papas. So that brings us to mind. So this kshetra is what? Fields of experience for who? Jiva. Īśvara is not going to come in this world and, exhaust Papa Punya. No. Jiva. This brings us really on the samashti level. This is so interesting, so fascinating. So the Jiva also contributes to Īśvara Srishti. How? By its own Papa Punya. The various Papa Punyas come into play, necessitating the creation of lokas for the jiva to exhaust the various karmas. That's why it is called kshetra in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Kshetragyam and kshetra. Kshetragyam means Kshetrajna is the one who knows all the kshetras, means the knower of the kshetra. The one who has created the kshetras is the knower of the kshetra. And then what? And then, this kshetra is for the various jivas to be born in a body and then born with a certain mindset. So then, this jiva has certain Papa Lesha, the remnant of Papa from previous lives. But when was the first life? There was no first life. Any time you are born as a human being, with free will, with the ability to flounce dharma, with the ability to disregard dharma and transgress dharma, and you just you flout dharma, and then as a result what happens? You get papa or you get punya. You go, do all kinds of dharmic activities and get punya. Punya is not a problem, so we don't discuss it that much. But papa is a problem. Papa means, uncomfortable situations in the here or the hereafter as a result of various, transgressions of dharma. And so where will all that papa punya go? It creates the conditions. It becomes conducive for rebirth. And then for rebirth, there has to be the appropriate kshetra to exhaust those karmas. And then, so what about this body? Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramiti abhidhiyate. So this body itself is a kshetra. It's a field of experience. Sometimes it feels like hell, naraka. So much pain, so much affliction. And look at all the things that start from birth itself. Sometimes in utero there are certain things wrong. And then, the mother to be goes for and the parents to be go for a scan, and then the ultrasound shows something is wrong with the heart of this baby. And then what? Even before it is born, it needs an operation. Somebody came to me like this few years back, and then they had to have that operation, and then and then there is a there is a pediatric surgeon specialty for in utero surgery, and so they had to fix a small hole or something in the heart. And then small equipment, little things to fix this. Amazing. They did that, and the baby was born fine. Otherwise, there was, it was it would have been a dangerous birth, or it could have just, succumbed. The baby could have died before being born. And so, like this, even before the birth, what happens? There are, these gandantaras, all kinds of various difficulties facing the body. Then mental difficulties. There are babies that are, even before they are born, something like this, Down syndrome, etc. There is challenges. And then developmental challenges, physical challenges, even before the body is born. Then, let us say the body is born okay. Then, the first year is very critical. You have to take care of the baby like like as though it is the most precious thing. Anything can happen. And then after that, the body undergoes so many changes and so many diseases. In fact, if you do a DNA test, all the diseases that are waiting, DNA test means what? The karmic blueprint from the standpoint of this sharira. This sharira is also a kshetra. So this earth is a kshetra. Yes, Sharira is a kshetra. So I am in a kshetra, in a kshetra, in a kshetra, in a kshetra. Yeah, it's like those Russian dolls, you know. One doll you open, another doll. Another one you open, another doll. Another one you open. It's endless. Like that. So you are already in a kshetra, you know, this indweller of the body is what? Experiencing this kshetra. This anubhuti is happening all the time of the kshetra, and the body itself is a kshetra, and this body is walking around and roaming around in a kshetra called bhuhu, earth. Isn't it interesting? So fantastic. So then these various kshetras are called lokas. The body itself is a loka. Yeah. Lokyate anena iti lokaha. And then, you know, lokyate iti lokaha. So that which is experienced and through which it is experienced, that is also loka. Very, very fantastic. Just gorgeous. Okay. So all these lokas were created, and then this is what the Taittirīya Upaniṣad says. So now the plot thickens. So now the Jiva is bringing its contribution to Īśvara Srishti. What is that? What can the Jiva bring? You know, the Papa and Punya, because of which the lokas have been created. Now, let us not go away with the feeling or with the wrong notion that these lokas and everything that is created because of saṅkalpā, which I am told is just like my dream, is a random act. Because, you know, in the dream what happens? Everything is random. Suddenly I see a man, and then I see the man has buffalo horns and a monkey tail and is jumping around. Random. It cannot happen in life. And you know, and then I see, suddenly after that I see one elephant, and that elephant is sleeping where? You know, in my front yard. Will that happen? No. Very unlikely, unless you're somewhere in Africa. Even then it doesn't happen. Unless you're living in the woods, it's not likely to happen. And some wild elephant sitting in my, you know, front yard. And one more exception, unless you're in Anekatti ashram. There it will happen. But other than that, you don't have that happening. And so, therefore, the dream experience is totally random. You know, but let us not go away. Swami Vidyaranya doesn't want you to go away thinking that the Īśvara Srishti is random. This is what a lot of, you know, what is that? Vadas, beliefs, say this, that there is a randomness in the universe. There is no randomness in the universe. The scientists will all laugh at you if you think that. And so, you know, so then the next verse goes to show that even though it is created effortlessly by saṅkalpā, it is not random. So this is again a challenge to chant because there is no break here in between, but we'll try, okay? Kham vai vyagni jalor vyoshadhyanna deha kramadami. Kham vai vyagni jalor vyoshadhyanna deha kramadami. Sambhuta brahmanastasmad etasmadātmanokhilah. Sambhuta brahmanastasmad etasmadātmanokhilah. So, akhilah, so all this, you know, etasmad atmanah akhilah, you know, sambhutaha, and then this we have already seen that all this akhilaha, you know, this whole jagat, you know, this whole entire jagat has ensued from the Atma. That was actually a repetition from the previous, you know, mantra, except this mantra is from the Taittirīya Upaniṣad, you know, Taittirīya Upaniṣad. And, you know, this Taittirīya Upaniṣad, you know, where, you know, the cosmology of the Jagat is being talked about, and this cosmology of the Jagat is being talked about in a particular way which agrees with what? Atma va idam agre abhut sa ikshata, which we saw earlier. And so here also, let us look at the last line, everything, sambhutaha, all this whole, what is that, everything here, all these things have come, and what things we will see later, all these things were created, sambhutaha, all these things came, what? Tasmat, from that Brahman, which is what? Atmanaha, etasmat. Etasmat means this, tasmat means that. So that and this are what? Together. How can that and this become together? Only when that and this refer to the same thing. So that refers to Īśvara, this refers to Atma, Brahman and Atma, which are one and the same. So you can't use word that and this. The preposition that and this cannot be used in the same sentence unless it refers to the same noun. Correct? You cannot say that, unless if I say, this man standing before me is actually my long lost, cousin that was lost somewhere in a mela when he was small. Then I can say that and this because it's referring to the same person. Correct? So therefore, tasmad etasmat, tasmad vai etasmat. So tasmat brahmana, sambhutaha, from that Brahman, it was born, all these were born, and all which we will see, it is referring to the 5 elements put very creatively in the first line. So, tasmat brahmana sambhutaha, all of them were born from that Brahman, which is what? Etasmad atmanaha, indeed, it is nothing but this Atma. So from this Atma, which is known as Brahman from the standpoint of the Jagat, from the standpoint of the collective, Samashti, from this Jagat, from this Brahman, which is none other than I, Akhilaha Sambhutaha. Akhilaha what? Kham, space, Vayu, Vaiva is there, Vayu plus Agni, Vaivagni. So Vayu, so space, and then Vayu, what is Vayu? Air. Agni, what is Agni? Fire. Jala, water. And then there is hidden Urvi. Urvi means earth. Jalorvyo, that is that. Urvi. Urvi plus Aushadhi. Aushadhi means plants. Then Aushadhi, Annam. Anna means food. So from the food comes the plants. And then from the plants, the plants sustain all the bodies. Dehaha. So this is a beautiful, elucidation of the 5 elements. And, this is a very ingenious summary of the Taittirīya Upaniṣad. And what does the Taittirīya Upaniṣad say? Tasmad va etasmad atmana akashas sambhutah akashad vayuh vayoragnih agnerapah adbhyah prithivī prithivya oshadhayah oshadhibhyonnam annat purushah. This is a very ingenious summary of this mantra here. Tasmad va etasmat, and the same thing that is used there. Brahmanaha tasmat, he clarifies what is this tasmat. This tasmat refers to that Brahman, and which is Satchidanandam Brahma, and that Satchidanand Brahma is also Satchidananda Atma, and that from this Atma alone, this whole Jagat is born. How? First from the subtlest to the grossest. What is the subtlest? space. And from what standpoint is it called the subtlest? It is called subtlest. Akasha is called subtlest because it can only be sensed through, one particular sense organ, which is sound. So when I hear the sound, I can kind of infer the space. You see Lord Dakshinamurti holding the damaru, in his upper right hand, he holds the damaru, and damaru means drum. Drum is what? Indication of space. Space and sound go together. And then Tasmad Akashad Vayuhu. From the Akasha, from that, subtlest of the subtle space was born air. And the air is discernible or objectifiable how? Through the sense organ of touch, correct? And hearing. So first space is only sensed through one sense organ, and then we come to Vayu, two sense organs. So if you dip your hand in, if you wash your hand in water or dip it in a bowl of water and then run, then you sense the air, correct? And then what? And then you can hear. That hearing is anuvartate, comes from that space that remains constant, sama. And then Vayoho Agnihi. And then what? Of course you can touch fire. We don't advise it, but you can touch fire. And then you can also hear fire, the crackling fire. And then what? You can, one more sense organ comes into play. So it is less subtler than the air from which it was born. And what is that? Fire. Because you can see it as well. And then, Agner Apaha, from the fire comes water. Really, because the birth of the fire is from the water on a very subtle level. So the subtle five elements, unfold in this way. So water comes, and water you can hear, you can see, you can touch, and then what else can you do? You can taste. The specific tastelessness of the water is the taste of water. And then, Agner Apaha Adhyaha, from the waters. In fact, in Sanskrit, Apaha, it's a collective, you don't say water. Waters. It's always permanently plural. So, Adhyaha, from the waters, Prithivi, here called Urvi, same thing. So, the earth has come from the waters. And then Prithivyad Oshadhayaha, from the earth has come, and the earth is discernible through five senses. The smell, like when there is fresh rain, you smell. Gandhavati Prithivi, we say. So the smell, and you can touch, you can taste, you can hear, you can see, you can do all these things. The earth is the grossest of the five elements. So from the subtlest came the grossest, and then after that from the earth came all the vegetation, the plants, flowers, fruits, etc., which sustain the bodies, and the body, this is the cosmology of the creation that is given in the what? Taittirīya Upaniṣad. And then, one more word we have to understand very, very carefully. And what is that? That is the last word in the first line. Ami Kramad. Ami means all this has come what? Kramad. Kramad means in order. So the saṅkalpā is not random. So the saṅkalpā here means just like you can have crazy dreams, etc. That is not the case here. Here it is all pakka, kramad. There is a flawless order. In fact, the infallible order is what is Bhagavan, is Īśvara. What a beautiful, unfoldment here from the Taittirīya Upaniṣad. Very nicely summarized by what? Swami Vidyaranya, and more we will see when, tomorrow. There was a question about whether the problems in interpersonal relationships is Jiva Srishti. Yes, absolutely. But wait, because we are still in Īśvara Srishti, wait till the Jiva Srishti is unfolded by Swami Vidyaranya, and you will see how, how it is. Okay? Yeah. All right. All the best. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.